then we'll just get right into it then.
Mhm.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another installment of the Ghost Comms podcast. I'm your host, Jatmon, and today we're joined by a very special guest. You could say he's the oil in the engine of Dignitas. We have 50 with us today. Thank you for joining me, man.
Hey, appreciate you having me.
So, firstly, I figure you'll kind of answer my most pressing question just by kind of answering this first one. Like, what is your background with Fort, and how that lead into what you do now?
Yeah, for sure. So back in 2017, I actually found Fortnite. I came from this game called H1Z1, kind of
Yep.
called the father of all battle royales.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually the youngest coach in a franchise esports league. I was 14 years old, signed to Temple Storm.
Damn.
So when it was announced that I'd have to relocate to Vegas, I wasn't too fond of that.
Mm.
For my career, they wanted me to drop out of high school, and that made absolutely zero sense,
Yeah, that's
especially at
wild.
that young of an age.
Yeah.
So there's one of the orgs I was with. It was called Impact Gaming. They had the CEO named Ranger. He was a young CEO as well, 19 years old. He forced me onto this horrible cartoon game. I hated it, despised it, and he said, I'll never forget his words. He said, "Hey, you're young. The scene is going to only grow as you grow up, and I think
Mm.
you should focus on this." And I was like, I hated it at the time. I was like, "Ah, man, you're forcing me to do something I don't want to do."
Yeah.
And we built the first ever competitive Fortnite squad back in 2017 on Impact Gaming, and it
Wow.
consisted of a Jayamok, Winter, Pain, and Vape Jesus. And
Wow.
yeah, so with that being said, fast forward to January, Fortnite's starting. It's not getting huge numbers, but
Yeah.
we're starting to see more of a scene, and more and more H1 players are beginning to play it, and we played this scrim league called Step One Scrims, and
Mm.
we created this pro scrimmage Discord with Myth, who was on TSM at the time. Actually, before he was signed to TSM and Cypher PK and a bunch of different
Mm.
streamers and creators, and all of a sudden I found myself at the forefront of the Fortnite competitive scene, helping
Yeah.
run everything when it comes
Yeah.
to influencers or connecting people with organizations, or
Mm.
just I was the one that kept track of the scrim wins and clips and everything
Mm.
like that. I'm still 15 years old at this point, so it's not
Yeah.
even like I'm too old. And all it took was one summer, and I remember it
Damn.
so vividly. Like in January, February of that year, Fortnite
Yeah.
just takes off,
Right.
absolutely takes off. My team was the number one team in Fortnite at that time. It was Impact Gaming, and then Myth got picked up by TSM, and then Cypher, I believe, got picked up by Luminosity at that
Mm.
time. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And then 15-year-old me is just in this whole new world of esports that I've never been in before. I did the
Yeah.
coaching, but being in the public eye like that was
Mm.
something that was just unprecedented. So
Before we get
ever
too
since
deep,
that point,
I
yeah.
the Ranger, the CEO, is that just
Mhm.
like a crazy luck, like draw the dice, or was he really that smart to like have the foresight to see, oh yeah, Fortnite's going to be like big?
Yeah, I think he had. Well, I want to say he did have the foresight, because he
Mm.
said battle royales were kind of getting stale. I
Yeah.
remember a conversation we had where he's like, H1's getting stale, and then
Mm.
PUBG came out too, but like it was still, not as popular. It had a huge peak, but like it was dwindling kind of down. And he's
Yeah.
like, bro, there's gonna be a new battle royale, and I think this game's it, because one, it's accessible. Like the
Yeah.
accessibility of it is crazy, and two, it brings something fresh to the genre, and three, the cartoony nature of it makes it really marketable.
Mm.
Right? It's gonna make it super marketable for kids, and I think this is gonna be just the next phase of gaming. So no, he 100% had the foresight, but I just
Damn.
yeah,
That's
like it was
insane. I mean,
crazy.
truly,
Yeah.
yeah. That to see a shift in the industry that early is like you got to have the mind for it, you know. So that's
100%.
impressive. But
Yeah. Yep.
okay, so you're this summer is kind of transformative because you're kind of one of the men building the foundations
Yeah.
as the game then reaches this worldwide phenomenon type of status, and you're really young when this is happening too. One more thing I did want to ask you kind of about that while you were talking that came to mind was like, do you think that you being so young relative to or like relative to when you started and started gaining experience, but also just in kind of in step with the esports industry as a whole, right? Because obviously esports is so young, and it's dominated by a much younger population than almost any other industry. Like, do you think that those have been key markers in why you are where you are now?
It's weird. Like I always think back to when I started esports. Like it being young was like not
Mm,
common at all. Like it was young in esports back then was 18, 19, right?
mm,
And
yeah,
so you weren't even allowed to play Fortnite unless you were 18, and that's when I came in too. So it's like
yeah,
that's the entire reason I never tried. I didn't afford a PC, for example. I couldn't,
yeah,
like, I wasn't rich by any stretch of the imagination. So I was there on my trackpad laptop, just playing games on it.
yeah.
But yeah, being young, like at the time, I didn't see it as something that was
Mm,
a benefit. One
sure.
of the biggest things, like I think I was able to find success pretty early on was I didn't look my age. I looked,
Mm,
even now, people don't see me as 21 years old. I'm only 21. People think I'm like 26, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
um, but as it kind of like progressed, I realized how much I learned from being young and
Mm,
how I didn't really let like labels like define me.
mm,
Because my entire career, I wouldn't lie to people about my age because that's something you can't do. But I would make it so that they wouldn't have to ask about it.
mm,
So I would hold myself in such a high regard and speak with
mm.
such eloquence and perfect diction and make sure anytime I'm in a call with an organization, they wouldn't even like go to think, oh, how old is this guy?
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
so for me, when esports went from like, oh, like I have 4 years before I can make an impact in this industry, and then Fortnite just by some string of luck becomes the game that's like, okay, what, I can do something now.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
that's for me was like, whoa,
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't see that coming at all. So
Sure.
all of a sudden my biggest weakness turned into one of my biggest strengths, and
Mm.
I became kind of the only manager in the scene that really resonated with players and had like this
Mm.
personable, relatable like
Mm.
life. So yeah,
Would
I
you
definitely think it ended up being a pro.
would you attribute that as a thing like you can just kind of relate more to the players that you're managing and working with? Do you think that's like that adds to the strength? Do you think that's like a good big part of why you're successful?
Yeah, I think 100% that that's one of the primary reasons. I
Mm.
mean, I think esports is very flawed. Like that's just my honest truth. I don't
Mm.
think organizations do it right at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these guys, just like in any corporate situation, esports comes with the corporate backing and the
Mm.
corporate mindset, but it doesn't have the corporate professionalism. So if
Mm-hmm.
you take like the professional route, it's like, okay, you need to hold these guys accountable to a
Mm.
certain level of standards and deliverables and build this culture.
Yeah.
But these kids don't know how to respond to it. They're 14,
Mm.
15, 16 years old. How the hell are they going to respond to, oh man, you got 40 hours you got to put in a week of this,
Yeah. And
they
not
haven't
just
learned those
not
lessons.
just 14, 15, 16. They're, that age, but they have had their I've articulated this before, but like they've had their delusions of grandeur almost fulfilled, which like
Mhm.
normally, you have these delusions and then you get humbled pretty quickly when you're that age,
Yeah.
right? Like middle school, high school, I think for the most typical person, that is like those are the most humbling years of your life.
Yeah.
And I think so like to see these kids that um instead of that humbling that kind of I think balances you out as a person, like you have these kids that have seen massive success monetarily in social media influence and like just in general competitive achievements as well. Like they are more successful than a lot of people, period, not just people their age. And I think that like that creates an additional dynamic of like ego, and it makes the paradigms really difficult to work with on that level. So I think even more so like trying to make them uh, feel some sense of authority, feel some sense of like reciprocity in business. Like that's something that I've found in my org work is like they don't really understand the idea of mutual benefit in business.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like this needs to be a give and a take. Like you get something from us, we get something from you, and we both are giving to each other. But that's just I just think that's part of the psychological phenomenon that's happening there as well. Um,
100%.
so my most pressing question, I guess, for you is like what actually is it that you do? Because I think a lot of people are kind of confused. I'm sure you get this
Yeah.
question a lot. Like, what is it in, I guess, in the simplest terms that you can make it? Like, what do you actually do?
Um, everything. It's crazy because we joke about this. We joked about this for years. I don't have a role
Mm.
because my role can't really like be defined by like a label or a title.
Mm.
Um, for me, I direct and do everything for our Fortnite division.
Mm.
That's
Okay.
kind of the blanket
Yeah, yeah,
statement.
yeah.
But individually, like my daily routine is focus on social media for the organization as a whole, and then
Mm.
the players individually,
Mm.
independent partnerships and sponsorships for the organization as a whole, and players independently, talent acquisitions, development. I do day to day for these guys too because I live in the house with all of them as well. So I have to kind of teach them how to be competent human beings
Mm.
on top of that.
Yeah.
And then as competitors as well, like being their friend in a way, but also like I don't want to say coach because I don't do that anymore, but
Yeah.
being a manager where I give them direction and I hold them to structure because for these
Yeah.
players they don't understand the word discipline. They
Yeah.
if they can go 2 weeks without playing the game and just go on Valorant or something, they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
So all that yapping to say, I quite literally do tens of different roles. I do
Yeah.
whatever is needed for me on a daily basis. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do agree. You're kind of fulfilling like multiple, what usually is kind of divided into multiple different roles, um,
Mhm.
all in one thing. But that's just I wanted kind of the audience at home too, because I was like I had some semblance of everything that you do for Dig, but I don't know people that, especially people that are unfamiliar with an org's operation, like would have no clue what it is you do.
Mhm.
Um, okay, before I get into my next question, I what is the most enjoyable thing that you do to you? Like what are you most
Mm.
looking forward to as part of your job that isn't so much so the like, oh, I have to do this, is like I get to do this.
Um, as crazy as it sounds, it's like seeing the kids grow up.
Mm.
Um, for me, it's always been I don't have like a big family or anything like that.
Mm.
So and my family's very, very traditional. So we're not, one to speak about our emotions or anything like that. So
Mm.
in esports when I come in, like most recently with Dukes, like I come in working
Yeah.
with these kids at 14, 15, and they're these, you know, uncultured, undisciplined,
Yeah.
rude, impolite kids. And then, the most bittersweet part of my job is like when I've done my job, you don't need me anymore. And
Mm.
they come, you know, I work with them 3 years and I see them grow into adults and
Yeah.
into people with like girlfriends and
Yeah.
real world jobs and making life changing money. And that's the part that like really like it
Mm.
warms my heart. I wouldn't trade that feeling of just wow, like I've affected someone's life
Mm.
for the better. I wouldn't trade that for the world. I can't
Mm.
describe how good that feels.
Mm. um I mean, kind of on that note, how is it working with some of the biggest names in the game? I mean, do you think that like that you have additional challenges because of the caliber of players and creators that you are working with?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lack of business rapport just from all
Mm.
Fortnite kids in general.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how successful you are, like they just don't get it because they've never worked a real 9 to 5, so they have that level of entitlement. But yeah, there's a lot of conflicting egos and a
Mm.
lot of conflicting personalities that don't really make it easy.
Mm.
Additionally, they don't respond well to authority,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't. There is no difference between respect and liking someone for those guys. So, my
Mm.
entire thing is like, you don't need to like me, but there's not a single person that can say, "Hey, I don't respect what 50's doing." Right?
Wow,
They can only despise me.
that's a mind blowing sentence that you just spit out there. It's like to them, there's no difference between liking somebody and respecting them. Like there's
Yeah,
no separation of the two in their minds.
yeah,
It's either I fuck with you and therefore I'm gonna treat you the right way, or I don't and I'm not. Wow,
hmm
I've never heard it put like that. That's fantastic.
hmm
Um, yeah, I mean, so how do you go about with those obstacles and with those challenges? How do you go about um cultivating the proper culture, because we were having a little bit of a conversation in Bomb's chat of all places.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, about a week ago at this point, and we were kind of talking about um, maybe some of the failures of orgs, and I think culture did come up a little bit. How do you go about cultivating that culture with those types of people being the main people that you're working with?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things, I can say this transparently. People, I am not someone that sugarcoats. Like
Mm-hmm.
I failed to do it with Dignitas. Like I'll be 100% honest. I've done it with all my orgs in the past. I've done it with all
Mm.
my communities in the past. I've done it with all my creators in the past. It's super. It's 10 times harder as a challenge being at Dignitas because you got so many conflicting people that compare themselves to other people and don't compare themselves to themselves.
Mm.
That's the issue with Fortnite, in my opinion. Hey,
Mm.
this guy's not doing this. This guy's not scrimming, and he's getting these results. Oh, this guy's
Mm.
making this money. He's not streaming. The fuck that got to do with you?
Yeah,
You could be
yeah,
doing
yeah.
10 times
Are
more.
you
Like,
them? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and so for me, it's like my entire thing is, and people joke about it, like, oh, 50, you code switch a lot. I'm like, you have to. If I'm in
Mm.
a professional, voice and tone 24/7, like, what the hell? The players are not going to connect with that. They don't
Yeah,
resonate with that, right?
yeah,
They need to see someone that they see as themselves
yeah.
because they have mob mentality. They
Mm.
follow wherever they're
Mm.
gravitated to, and that's how they start acting. And
Mm.
so for me, it's like, okay, if you see me on a stream or comic, you're probably gonna be like, "Yo, what the like? This dude's a manager? How the hell is this guy's a manager?" Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I have to act like that because I let the players kind of, I don't want to say hide behind my personality because I'm very outgoing,
Mm.
to be honest. But if I'm not the one leading by example, then nothing gets done. That's
Mm.
the honest to God truth.
Mm.
So that's how I deal with it because genuinely, if I'm the one building culture and I'm the one setting the precedent and the standard,
Yeah,
they all follow suit.
yeah. That makes sense. Um, so obviously you're gonna have some views on this, and that like this was part of our conversation. It's like, how do you maintain an org? How do you keep it going? Because it's not a secret that esports orgs are not profitable. They're like,
Yeah,
if you want to define success by merely that metric, they're not successful in
yeah,
that regard for the most part. There are some amazing outliers, but um, we were kind of talking about that. How do you rectify that? How do you address that idea? And a lot of it, we did talk about, comes down to culture. It comes down to
mhm,
um, creating a brand for the actual organization
mhm,
that people want to buy into, that they are buying
yeah,
into a bigger idea. Um, you know, that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. Do you think that, like, because this would kind of be my theory on it, is like, do you think that you kind of being the locus of all of it, that you like being the driving force and like being in the house and like that environment, do you think that allows you to do that better, to like become the brand in a sense, like you're like a living embodiment of what you want the brand to be, and then, like you said, leading by example, that kind of trickles down?
yeah, definitely. But like I said, I failed to do it with Dignitas. Like
Mm.
I could be 100% honest. Like
Mm.
Dig should be 30 times bigger than it is right now.
Mm.
There's just so many moving like
Yeah.
pieces that don't allow us to
Mm.
be where we want to be at. But um yeah, I think me being in the house helps a lot. And the guys see quite literally firsthand what I do. My
Mm.
morning consists of, I wake up at 9, 10 a.m. I 10 to 2, I'm on calls. 2 p.m. I'm with the players, helping them go to the gym, everything like that. Then 5, scrim starts. Hey, everyone start up their stream, kind of give them a general idea of what the schedule is today. They kind of end at 10, 11, or they go into late night where, I'm helping them yet again with ESL, competition, VOD review. So they have that regimen
Mm.
from me directing it. So that's kind of where I can say, like, hey, if you're in the house, I know you're being productive. And Acorn's quite literally like a direct representation of that.
Mm.
When he's in the house, we joke about it. Actually, I think it's like when he's in the house, he'll stream every single day.
Mm.
He's gonna put in 4 to 8 streaming like or hours of streaming a day.
Mm.
He's going to compete and play scrims in everything, and he's going to be active on YouTube, TikTok, and
Mm.
Twitter. He goes back home, no one knows where this guy is. No, he doesn't stream. He doesn't compete. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He does nothing. He actually
Yeah.
does nothing. So, it's a lot easier, of course, having people in the house. But as it comes to community, like it's hard within Fortnite. And
Yeah.
just kind of transitioning, I guess, into to a new topic is like I have struggled, especially in this new generation of Fortnite, because we are in a new generation, and it's crazy to say it gets younger and younger.
Yeah.
Um, and you kind of have to pick and choose who you want your community to be.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
I could easily fall into, and this is really what I'm suffering from right now. And that's why I say, like, I failed to do, I don't want to say my job, but I failed to create the community I wanted to create. Because when you're introduced to Fortnite now, you're introduced to Fortnite via Bucky, you're introduced to Fortnite via Peter, you're introduced to Fortnite via clicks.
Yeah.
You don't have those. Clicks has definitely toned it down recently,
Yeah.
compared to like prior years, but like you don't have as positive influences as you did like when it was like Myth, Ninja,
Yeah.
even Turner, where it's like, okay, like there, oh, you can make these edgy jokes, but there's like some level of like discipline and like
Yeah.
reality here. Like it
Yeah.
is full like to this degree of like
Yeah.
trolling and embracing the troll and
Hmm.
just kind of like hate watching.
Yeah.
And as much as we joke about it, it's like that is not good for infrastructure, games infrastructure, or community at all. Like if I
Hmm.
was Epic Games and I know why they don't provide support to competitive community, look at the fucking competitive community, man. Like
Right.
it
Right.
is so
Yeah.
disgustingly toxic when you compare it to every other subgenre and niche of Fortnite. It's like
Mm.
the competitive community is disgustingly toxic.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, okay, I could easily create a community of 13, 14 year olds of just brain rot, like,
Yeah.
oh, let me follow whatever Dignitas says, and
Mm.
um, but it doesn't translate to any. That doesn't translate into to our viewers being, you know, empowering to our guys when they perform poorly. No, it doesn't translate to, oh, we got you back. No, like all my players stream. All my players after they stream an event, I fucking hate streaming. I don't want to fucking stream again. This shit is
Yeah.
absolutely horrible. Like
Yeah.
it's not possible. So for me, that's the biggest struggle I've had is like
Mm.
I am quite literally trying to create a new status quo.
Mm.
As crazy as that sounds, that's my goal of like not just for Dignitas but for Fortnite as a whole. Because right now it's cool to be a dick. That's the
Yeah.
honest to God truth.
Yep.
It's
100%.
absolutely cool to
Yeah.
be a dick. And so, like I said, you see these streamers who are currently at the top right now, they do not give a fuck if their communities are plaguing other people. They don't.
Yeah.
It's a part of their marketing,
They, yeah,
right? Like,
they borderline encourage it. I mean, you look at
yeah,
like a case like Bucky. I mean, the harassment that he has um, provoked and
yeah,
encouraged in his community. Yeah, I mean,
it's insane. And it's this thing. Like, there's so much. I've known Bucky for years,
mm,
and there's so much more to that guy than what he's currently presenting.
mm,
There's so much more. He's an incredible competitor. He has one of the best aims ever in Fortnite.
mm,
He's a historic Fortnite player. You even go back to his video where his dad helped him to World Cup.
yeah,
You can see like the mental intricacies behind this guy as an individual.
yeah,
But he's always gonna fall victim to the anything for views mindset because he's failed to curate his community. It's a
yeah,
reflection on him. And so, people always come, oh, 50, why do you hate Bucky? I don't hate Bucky. I like Bucky. I think Bucky is a great guy that can really, really do something in the space and
mm,
really, really change lives. But he hides behind the, oh, I can't be canceled. I can't be. He
yeah,
hides behind that because he's too scared to be vulnerable. Because in our
mm,
community, you can't be vulnerable. You
right,
can't.
yeah, yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
it gets punished.
yep,
And that's the unfortunate truth, and this has been my struggle in content in the time that I've been in the game, because I was a youth pastor for some years,
mhm,
and like so I think a lot of the stuff that you said about kind of watching these kids grow up and pouring into them and watching them become real human beings, I resonate with that a lot. I went through similar processes in the stuff that I've done and the work that I've done, and for me, just like you said, I saw this distinct lack of role models in the space, or if they were present, um, they were not entertaining. Like I love Nick A30. That's I don't have any beef with him, but nobody over the age of 12 is watching Nick A30. I mean, just
yeah,
realistically, and like that's fine. He's found his niche, but when I think about, there are very very few people out there who are entertaining to that age range specifically. Like I worked a lot with middle school and high school boys, and like when I see the direct results of what these creators are encouraging, people like the Buckies and the Clixes of the world, and like how these guys are turning out as a result of that. That was why I stepped into content. Was like, okay, I want to see if I can bridge that. I want to see if I can, be both, be the good role model and be entertaining, and if there's a space for that. Um, and I think I've just seen a failure of that over and over again. And I feel like content has gotten to this point where that personal, that story aspect, the depth of it has kind of diminished over time.
Yep.
To the point now where it's all shock factor, it's all characters, it's all just like
Yep.
what's the biggest, most annoying, most degenerate thing that I can do and scale that, and then that's what produces me views and makes me money so that I can continue to live the lifestyle that I want to live. Because I think for a lot of the big people in the scene, a lot of these creators, that's what they want, is they want to fund this money, cars, girls lifestyle. So it's just this like hedonistic selfishness that just pushes them forward. Um, and I think that's really unfortunate. And I do think that, whether, and I do want to talk about, an org's place and whether they should even exist in the Fortnite scene or not. But as long as they do, I do feel like that is partially an org's responsibility to try and imbue that, to try and bring some maturity and some professionalism and some depth to the scene and to these creators. I mean, I kind of realized, in my content journey, because I started as just a content creator, and I wasn't in the org scene or anything like that. I was like, well, if I have impact on the creators, if you influence the influencers, you influence their entire audience as well. And I think
Yeah.
that was where it kind of dawned on me of like, oh, if I can be in a mentorship position, or in a position where I can be pouring into these people, and maybe showing them, hey, like there are alternatives to what you're doing. I do feel like orgs need to change that on the whole, instead of encouraging and enabling that behavior and capitalizing off of it. I mean, not to name names, but I feel like Agent is maybe the spokesperson for that right now. I mean, getting a gambling sponsorship and getting a crypto sponsorship and just everything that has come with that, and what they're encouraging in the house and in those behaviors, I just feel like is the embodiment just kind of that mentality. And I feel like there are two distinct camps in esports of people who want it to be impactful and meaningful and something bigger than themselves, and people who just want it to be a route to money and fame and cars and all that stuff. And I feel like orgs are the big missing piece, I guess, in that. I don't know. I have this vision for Fortnite where organizations are mainstay, just like any other game, and I think it's possible. But I kind of want to transition into that. Like, what do you think that realistically orgs should be in this space? How do they shape? Is there a way that you can make that work? What are your thoughts on that?
There's a way. I don't think, as it stands right now, organizations are going to stay in the space.
Mm,
I think we're going to see a huge influx of organizations. I could say I've had at least 6 to 7 organizations, tier one, hit me up the past 1 month just to do the
mm.
ESL. You're going to see all these organizations are going to come in. Oh, the space fucking sucks, and dip out
Yeah.
within two to
As
three
soon as
months.
ESL is over, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
as soon as it's over. And so, I mean, my favorite organization in the world is Carmine Corp.
Mm,
They have this fan base called the Blue Wall that's incredible. If you go to Malibuka and Murstach's recent tweets, you'll be like, whoa, their level of
yeah.
engagement,
Yeah.
insane. And that those types of fans, ultras, they're French fans, so America, you don't really get those like
Mm,
that level of dedication. But go to every land, buy every single jersey, but they're resonating. They feel like a part of the brand. Their failures are your failures. Like
mm,
that fan base is something I've dreamed of creating in North America for years. That's been
mm.
my end goal. Um, I think an organization like that easily, you come into Fortnite, you can easily curate one of the best and like biggest audiences because when you're at an org like that, the org is bigger than the sum of its parts. You're not looking at clicks. You're not looking at
Yeah.
Malabuka
Yeah.
individually. You're not looking at Mersta. You're looking at like, oh my god, these guys are KC, and the
Yeah.
players are brought into this culture, so they're
Mm,
not. You can already see it. I have to force my players hashtag Dignitas win at
yeah.
Dignitas win
Yeah.
on every tweet,
Yeah.
just because it gets them such big engagement and impressions. They will
Yeah.
impression farm for the org to make sure the org is everywhere, and
Mm,
it's just this domino effect, and it's just spirals like a positive spiral of like, hey,
yeah.
you represent the org more, you get more love. In Oregon, a community like that, incredible.
Yeah.
Now you look at the inverse of that. Agent has been doing incredible things,
Mm.
content wise, like or numbers wise. Like I Bucky is incredible work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
People, the one thing no one can knock him for, that motherfucker works. He does,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the first person I think we've seen in an organization in the last 3 4 years that has really sacrificed a piece of his own brand for the organization.
Mm.
That's one of the reasons Agent has been able to thrive because Bucky has incorporated it into every aspect of his stream, every aspect of his community, and
Yeah.
even with Peter, he's incorporated Peter, who's from a totally different community,
Yeah.
into his own and made him feel like a part of the family. So
Mm.
it's been phenomenal what he's done for Agent. That
Mm.
is exactly what a player should be doing
Yeah.
for the organization they're on, especially like a star player like Bucky,
Yeah.
because he's forever going to be ingrained. When people think of Agent, the first person they think Bucky, right?
Yeah.
Like, and Agent has built around him. They brought on Derek, they brought on Okus, they brought on Pilot, who all live in the house. So they've created this cast of content
Yeah.
that's organic and
Yeah.
seamless, and like
Yeah.
they've creating, added these supporting pieces and sent it, and then you add in like this face like Peter, who's not going to do it on his own. But like I said,
Yeah.
Fortnite kids, it's mob mentality. If they see everyone in the house acting a certain way, they're
Yeah.
going to do it.
Yeah.
So now Peter's in the videos, and then you get these viral moments of Peter just in positions where he shouldn't be. Why
Yeah.
the hell is Peter at a club?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so for that's it's perfect. That it's
Mm.
incredible what Bucky's been able to do in terms of integrating and assimilating his audience with the Agent brand.
Mm.
And I will give a props 10 times over 10 for doing that, because there is no other pro in Fortnite that I've ever seen take that level of sacrifice too.
Mm.
And hey, I'm gonna dedicate my time not just to make my brand grow. I'm gonna make my organization's brand grow. Every time
Yeah.
Bucky on stream, yo, Rad, go live. I'm gonna host you. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
once, let's say hypothetically, my players did that for me. I can do whatever. Hey guys, we have this new tweet. Go retweet. Oh, let's make this
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
community. Oh,
Sure.
we have a
Sure.
community night. And so that's where I say, like, okay, in an ideal world, you take that aspect,
Yeah.
maybe, and then you curate the community. I genuinely wish I could have a sit down dinner with Bucky. Like,
Mm.
I genuinely like, Bucky, yo, you got so much. You single handedly can save the space. Like, please just a little bit, just tone it down. I wish
Mm.
if players did that to, like, for their organizations, they're consistently making content, because the demand for IRL content, we've seen it with sentence vlogs too.
Mm.
He's getting six-figure views on his vlogs.
Yeah.
We saw it with
Yeah.
Jamper back in the day.
Yeah.
People want to see BTS content. BL,
Yeah.
that niche that BL filled, it's
Yeah.
missing. I
Yeah.
would love to do it here at Dignitas. Guess what? My players don't want to do it.
Mm.
Right? Like, it's like my thought process, and I've had this over and over, and this is my formula, and it's what it's always been. You join an organization, you do a crazy announcement with a focal two competitors. Those
Yeah.
two competitors rep the org in its totality. Hey, go follow, this, that. Then you get some content creators. You add the mix. You do some community nights, so you can, get the best of both worlds in content and competitive.
Yeah.
Then those content creators are more responsible for, like, aiding the competitive play. Oh, let's help grow their brands.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, you want them to interact, and you don't want it to seem like they're just separate pieces. Then once you build a following in a community where it's like engaged, dead viewership means nothing. AI videos and reposting
Mm.
videos, yeah, they get views and it's a form of marketing. It's not building loyal fans. It gets
Mm.
eyes on you. Once you get the eyes on you, you need to build dedicated experiences and events for
Mm.
you to actually build loyal fans and for someone to feel like they're a part of the org. That's
Mm.
one of the best things about Bucky streams too. It's like, you never know what this dude's gonna do. I'm not even. I'd be lurking in chat. I'm like, yo, what the?
Yeah.
But like, it
Yeah.
really keeps you on your toes. And so
Mm.
that's the same thing with streams. Like, if you start doing variety streams like that with your org members and your cast, you can see them in
Mm.
environments outside the game, and
Yeah.
that's the demand you need to supply. You build a
I.
documentary series
Yep.
on top of it.
Hundred
Then you build
percent.
you build master classes.
Yeah.
It's so easy to profit, but orgs are used to this 2016-17 use of esports, where it's all about, hey, let's just go sponsor. It's dead numbers, and let's go sell
Yeah.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Sponsors don't care about you.
Yeah. No, and this is a conversation I've had a lot. I had this conversation with Teddy when he was on, Teddy the Moon owner, and this story driven people centric content. I think
Yep.
is like people crave that whether they know that they crave it or not. And I think that's why, all the stuff that you were just talking about, like Bucky and Sented's vlogs and like all of this stuff, we're seeing this shift away from IRL content. Even Bronos, Fox, Bomb, Trey, like they all just moved into a place in Dallas together. Bronos released a vlog like the first week that they were there. And
Hmm.
it like all of that I just feel like is shifting to this idea of like, yeah, put the person in it now. I feel like the scene is
Hmm.
now matured to this point where they want that. They want to know these people. And that was the whole idea behind this podcast as well, was like, I want to tell these stories. I want to highlight these people, highlight those stories. Because it just makes it richer, makes it a richer experience. And you look at like the sports industry, which I think esports should always be taking pages out of the sports industry's book. That everything is story driven. Everything is about, this person's story. On draft day, you get to hear the story of, how they were poor, and then, he would bike to basketball practice, and then now he's in the NBA or whatever it is, right? And I feel like esports is missing that crucial element, and I feel like that was why we got this, like, like you said, dead engagement, where yeah, like it's so cool that that guy can do 50,000 triple edits in a row, but like, why should I care? What, like, why
Yeah.
should I care about him as a person? Why should I care about his triumphs or his losses or any of those things? And I
Hmm.
feel like Fortnite, especially for so long, it was just like, it was just their placements was the story. It's like
Hmm.
Sented's second places, his string of second places, I don't think meant much until you actually got to know, like, see him as a person. I know for me personally, like when I met Sented in person, like I was a big fan of him back in the day, but when I met him in person and talked to him a little bit, I became an even bigger fan. I was like, man,
Hmm.
dude, now I'm like actually sad for you that you got second 4 times in a row or whatever it was.
Hmm.
Because I want to see him succeed now because I'm bought into him as a person. And I feel like that's where content needs to go. Um, and I just feel like, yeah, people centric esports is just where it needs to go, and that's, organizations need to do that as well. And I feel like they have a unique opportunity to do that. Like you said, Agent has done a good job with that, of creating something organic where those storylines just naturally come up, and you're more a documentarian than you are a director. And you're getting these organic types of things where, yeah, it obviously may be played up, or they may have, ideas that are like, oh, let's go do this thing that's going to drive the content, but it's just them, from that on. I love that. Where do you see, what is, when you envision the direction of competitive Fortnite in the next 3 to 5 years, what do you see? What are you thinking?
Epic's gonna kill it.
Really?
I think there's absolutely zero reason for Epic not to kill it, to rebuild it from the ground up.
Mm,
I think they're intentionally trying to nuke it. To be honest, like
really?
you cannot tell
Interesting.
me this. Yeah, like the focus is on UEFN. We all know that. I think
Yeah.
this we're especially seeing with ESL. Like ESL has access to create these creative experiences, and I think that's exactly the direction Epic's going to take in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't want to say
Mm,
it's going to a transition that's going to happen like in the short term, but I
yeah.
think long term that's where it's going to happen. And then you start looking back into what Epic's done even at our big LAN events. Oh wait, there was a creative World Cup. Oh, there was a creative Pro Am. Oh,
Yeah.
every third party that's been hosted has been creative. Then you realize they've been soft launching it for a fucking minute.
Mm,
They have been. And then now like future chapters are going to be created within UEFN and everything like that. So
yeah.
I think it's all going to be UEFN.
Mm,
My biggest thing is like competitive is not sustainable. No
mm,
matter what we say, like competitive is not sustainable. Epic treats competitors like shit. This is the most mentally taxing
mm,
esport in the world.
yeah.
The top 1% doesn't get less in any other esport.
Mm,
If you were a tier one player in any other esport, you're signed to a good organization,
yeah.
you have a good baseline salary, you have
Right.
guaranteed income. You're tier
Yeah.
one here. You could get snaked. Look at what happened to Noxy this season.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking unbelievable to me that just
Yeah.
shit like that can happen. Like it just is. We don't have good scrims. Like
Yeah.
Vital is not. It's not Manu's fault. It's like the players don't take Vital serious because it starts from the top down. If you see your favorite pro not taking scrim serious, oh, I'm too good for this shit. I don't need. How the fuck do we need set drop spots? Like how is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
How is that possible? It's just a mindset thing. So
Mm,
I think generally, and if I was Epic too, I would, like I said, I would look at the community and be like, oh, this is
yeah.
not acceptable. But
Yeah.
I think Epic's lack of regulation is enables this type of behavior.
Mm.
So
Lack of
I
regulation
don't
on the players' behalf is what you're saying.
on the play. You cannot tell me someone says the hard R and is able to play a tournament
Yeah.
the next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
How the
Right.
hell is that possible?
Yeah.
You cannot tell me someone is proven alting, but no one's working on the weekends when there's tournaments.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me we know that there's 80 people in a Discord call together during a duo cash cup, and
Yeah.
we're saying, no, that's acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I was Epic, the way I would do it genuinely is, hey, every single person, it's like what they do for other games. It's harder to track. We need your voice comps. We need you to connect there's different outputs. There's this website. You connect it right here. We need either a face cam, a live face cam feed of you. No, we need a guaranteed,
Yeah.
or we need you in a Discord call. You get all 50 teams in a Discord call, and they have to play the tournament in that Discord call.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
not. That's what they need to do. And then anytime there's an issue, they need live support tracking these events. So
Yeah.
like, oh, there's an issue. Oh, yo, what happened? Oh, you crashed. All right, we're restarting the game. Join our
Yeah.
team. We're restarting the game.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? Oh, yeah, brother, you're an alter. Can you screen share your Oh, no, your cheats. Go. You're gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have ID verification, anything. Like,
Yeah.
you have nothing.
Yeah.
So I just think this scene is bound to fail. Genuinely, the only thing that was carrying it in years prior was money, because Epic just pumped cash into it.
Yeah.
And so, all right, orgs don't need to come in because Epic's paying. But as we see, the prize pool is going further below. That's it. Like, it's going lesser and lesser. They're trying to incorporate modes such as zero build. So like last year we had Saudi, even zero builds. Like, okay, majority of people that are familiar with the BRs are going to be good at the zero builds mode.
Yeah.
Fucking capture the flag.
Yeah.
It's not even the same game, right? Like, and then you're telling me we have these events, and I'll never forget. You're telling me in January of this year, we had FNCS announced a week before it started.
Yeah.
Who the fuck thought of that?
Yeah.
So it's like, excuse my French, but this is some bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
this competitive scene is quite literally the most unbelievable shit I've seen from the top down in my years. I've experienced levels of negligence in my life. I have never experienced negligence like Epic Games Fortnite competitive. This shit, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying I do not give a fuck. Like, this is some of the craziest shit. The trailers are fucking horrible. The media is terrible. The social media is terrible. The fucking casting, it's not good. The segments are not good. There's no analysis. There's no depth. There's no support for third parties. There's no support for scrims. And there's no communication with the players. What do we have? And then you realize it's just Manu. Manu's got the fucking competitive scene on his back and doing everything himself because Epic can't do it. And that's the way it's always been. You take away the third parties who are doing it for free, my add. You take away all of those from history. Myself, Manu, Chap, Jailmock, Myth. What competitive scene is there?
I do feel like so much of what you said, I just feel like falls under this umbrella of Epic has had this hesitancy to create Fortnite esports to be the potential that it has always had. I mean, I've said this countless times now on this podcast, but I feel like if Epic like really said, okay, we're going to make the best esport ever and just put in the amount of support that a Call of Duty has or a CS has or any of the other top esports, it would be the top esport in the world, bar none. Like, the fact that it survived with the conditions that, you know, they've been under, especially the past few years when the popularity overall of competitives, because as the skill disparity increases, it's less and less palatable for the general audience, which is why zero build gained so much popularity. Like, and even then, the competitive scene has stayed alive out of pure passion. You know, like you said, all these third parties, Aussie and Manu, and all these people that are like pumping in because they're just like, we love this game this much. I don't know what it is that makes them not want to go. I mean, I do to a degree. Like, if they can make, you know, if they can Robloxify the game and make, you know, the gaming metaverse that they dream of making and make billions and billions of dollars off that, why the fuck would they make the best esport in the world when they can make much more profit, you know, with what they're doing? And I think that's all it boils down to is Epic, at the end of the day, there are suits at Epic that want ROI, that want, to pay out to investors, and they are doing what they say. And there are suits that are just shutting down so many ideas because it doesn't benefit their long-term goal of profit. And that's all it is. And they are just a corporation that wants money at the end of the day. There are so many people, in the competitive space that want to make it the best that they can, but they're being given scraps from the higher ups at Epic. And that's just, I think until or unless that changes, where Epic all of a sudden sees some kind of profitability, because it's not going to be for the passion of it. It's not going to be fan service. It's not going to be any of that stuff. They would have to see profitability that justifies, the effort and the hiring and the money import that it would take to make Fortnite the best esport in the world. But I mean, it could be a 2-year turnaround, and I truly believe that Fortnite would be the biggest esport in the world, bar none. And it would be unrecognizable. And I feel like a lot of that is just, lack of org support, lack of communication, like just so many things that are really simple fixes, but it's just out of this. I think the mentality isn't there. They don't want to really fix it. Like they're doing it because like whatever. I don't know. I envision a world where something changes and Epic and Fortnite is the best esport in the world, but I'm kind of with you on that. I don't see it happening because I don't think anything would change. They are pretty set in making the next Roblox with all the IP that they control and all the
Yeah.
experiences and all the brand activations. I mean, UAFN is the future, and that's going to be the future of the game. So kind of with that, like, because obviously I think that too will shift the landscape of the esports industry and the gaming industry as a whole. When you take the IP that Epic has access to, when you take the whole kind of game hosting idea that they're going for, as opposed to being just one game, I think it'll kind of shift the industry in a really radical way. Do you think that? Do you see yourself kind of staying in Fortnite? Do you see yourself evolving into something more, into a more traditional esport? Like, where do you think the industry is going to go, and where do you think you're going to kind of respond to
Yeah.
that?
I mean, this is the thing. I've had offers like from different like Valorant teams,
Mm.
and Valorant organizations to make a transfer there. But for me, the reason I like, as crazy as it sounds, I like the like chaos of Fortnite.
Mm.
Like I appreciate how guerrilla it is, and it's for me. It's also like it's fully sunken cost fallacy too, because like it's
Yeah.
50 years successful. I am nowhere near successful, man. Like I've probably spent the most amount of time in this industry with the least amount of money made. Like
Mm.
I'm nowhere near successful, but if we're quantifying by monetary value, like, but my entire goal for my entire life has been I don't want to just do gaming, right? I think we've seen it with like AMP and Beta
Mm-hmm.
Squad and Sidemen. Like when you create these collectives, they rise beyond the status of just a title, right?
Yeah.
They become these pop culture phenomenon that
Yeah.
can create real culture, and that's what I wanted to create. Because
Mm.
Fortnite, I think, is the only mainstream game that hasn't had a group really rise beyond the game like that yet.
Mm.
And so for me, that's always been my end goal of like, okay, let me try and be the person that can do this.
Mm.
The issue is that there is no one like-minded. That as crazy as that sounds, like
Yeah.
none of the competitive players. The word of the day: complacency. They
Yeah.
get super comfortable once they're at the top. Like they see a cap to how successful they can be. They would rather be the first, like, or one of many than the first of all, right? Like it's they don't
Mm.
want to be someone
Yeah.
that trailblazes or paves the way for others. They don't care about that.
Mm.
It's like, oh, I'm making good money, like doing nothing. Yeah, let me just try to do this. And then 2 years down the
Mm-hmm.
line, they're gonna be, they don't have life skills. What the hell are you gonna do when the money's gone?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I'm probably gonna give it till the end of this year. Even
Mm.
this year, I was contemplating leaving Fortnite. I accepted an offer to go into the music industry July last year because I on the side I work with publishing companies. I work with Rolling Loud Music Festival. I've worked with Puma. I've worked with Nike. I've worked
Mm.
so many different industries. So for me, I've never kept myself exclusive to just Fortnite because
Mm.
the only reason I'm in gaming is to get the fuck out of gaming. Like
Yeah.
that's genuinely
Yeah. No, I hear that.
I'm
Yeah.
and so I've always dreamed of creating this brand, whether it be Dignitas or somewhere else where I can connect gaming, music, fashion, in sports all in one, and I want a documentary series to follow all that
Mm.
because this new generation of celebrities, they all grew up playing games.
Yeah.
I saw the God truth.
Yeah.
David, D4V, D,
Yeah.
one of the new singers. He was a huge Endless fan back in the day.
Yeah.
And Speed, same thing. He was a huge Day fan.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me these guys grow up as people playing Fortnite. They have love for it. They want to be
Yeah.
in gaming. It's like
Yeah.
he's come back. He's signed with 100 Thieves now, and that's my biggest thing. It's like I
Yeah.
want to create an environment that people can express themselves and
Mm.
people can the stigmatization of gamers back in 2017, at least when I like started out, was not positive.
Right. Right.
You had the nerdy, oh, you're a fucking nerd. I told someone I used to keep it hidden from my basketball team because I quit basketball to pursue gaming,
Mm.
and no one knew. I used to keep it hidden, and there was a video. TSM Myth goes to Las Vegas, had like 1 million views, and you see me in the back. You see a 15-year-old me, and my school went, the fuck? And that's when I realized I was like, everyone at my school they call me Tarun. Tarun, what the fuck are you doing in Vegas? That's why you were at school last week? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like
Yeah.
waiting for this. Bro, that's dope as fuck, bro. Fortnite's great.
Yeah.
And I was like, the
Yeah.
fuck happened in the last 3 years? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what happened, but
Oh, it did.
that's
It,
the
it
thing.
it became a phenomenon, and Fortnite I feel like is in a really unique position because and I was thinking about making a whole long form video on this of like this relationship between the celebrities that we're seeing rise to fame just in
Mhm.
general have roots, backgrounds, beginnings in Fortnite. I mean, like the most recent example, you can look at like a Lacey. I mean, Lacey is now just on the platforms as a whole, social media. He's a
Mhm.
social media star. And like he's obviously, got his start in Fortnite, but not even everyone knows that now about him. Like that,
Yeah.
it's like he's evolved beyond it. You look at Iran, you look at just so many people that have the root there because the game was just this earth-shattering, world-changing, you know, phenomenon when it was at its peak. It truly changed like so much about all of our lives. And people underestimate that or they downplay it or whatever. But like Fortnite was truly something that will go down in history as changing so much about so many industries and maybe even culture as a whole. But like that relationship is really interesting to me because Fortnite's one of the only games I think where you can make a name for yourself that expands so far beyond gaming. I think other people it's a lot more difficult to come out of other games and become a just kind of this overall social media icon or sensation. And I think that's really interesting. And I kind of I liked what you touched on earlier. I feel like Fortnite is this fantastic place to be as a stepping stone or as a beginning in career to like learn, to network, to like find passion, find a role for yourself, and then move on to something bigger and better. And I think we've seen that with so many people that have come out of the scene, so many success stories that are now going off and doing big things in big places and big industries. I don't know. I love to see it. I do think there will be a day where Fortnite kind of dies down, but like I'll never forget this time. But I also know that I'll carry so many skills and all of that like out of it into whatever I end up doing next. I do worry for a lot of these people that once that Fortnite is gone, they have nothing. Um,
Yeah.
and that's a scary reality, and I think so many people are facing that. Um, yeah, I mean, so we always end because I think I'm winding down here.
Mhm.
Unless you have any topics you want to really dive into.
Well, so yeah, I got one final one.
Okay, yeah,
My goal, it kind of goes back to your last question. My goal, and if I had to, summarize my goal into like one condensed
yeah,
statement, Fortnite's always going to add new fans. That's the truth. They're the
mm,
kings of marketing. They always keep something fresh.
yeah,
Once they're going to add 13, 14, 15-year-olds in a new generation every single year, they're going to do a large campaign to do it, whether it be Black Hole, whether it be a Fortnite OG. It's going to
mm,
be something.
mm,
The issue is once you get older and you get to 17, 18, 19,
mm,
there's no place for you to transition your dedicated like fandom to because you
mm,
kind of grow out of what the way you're introduced, right? Like
mm,
when it used to be, you had these older influences like I said, Turner, and you had
mm,
Nick Merckx, and you had like Lupo and them. And as you got older, you could kind of begin to appreciate their content more. Of
mm,
it wasn't like you said shock factor. And that's kind of what I want to build at Dig, and that's my hope to do it with any organization. Really, is like if I can build a community for people that are dedicated Fortnite fans,
Yeah.
and we're able to successfully make dedicated Fortnite players or fans of Dignitas, and they feel like Dignitas' success is a part of their success, and we're able to follow these players and the person behind the screen,
Mm.
that's going to have the biggest trickle down for the
Mm-hmm.
new fans, because the brand will be so big that the new fans will be like, oh wow, like, but there's this path I can follow too.
Mm.
And it'll create this whole sub niche within the competitive genre, which I think is like really really important. But
Mm.
I can say this too, like the only org that's going to do it is Dignitas, as pompous as that sounds, because we've seen agent that they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Man City, they're too focused on I mean the actual soccer club.
Mm.
There are no orgs in Fortnite. If you think any of these orgs are like coming in, you know, Carmine, they're not gonna do it. Sadly, like Xset, they're not gonna do it. Like
Mm.
you're gonna see Phase that just announced they're coming back. They're not gonna do it. Like
Yeah.
if Dignitas sadly doesn't work as and it doesn't eventually end up being a brand that can self-sustain itself fully within a Fortnite division. And I'm hoping UEFN has a big part of that, because we had an award-nominated UEFN map in Booga's Endgame, but it died out.
Mm.
If we're unable to do that, then it is hopeless for organizations in Fortnite. I can genuinely say that confidently.
Mm.
So I'm my hope is that we can do it, and we are the proof of concept for the rest of the esports community of, yo, Dig is profiting like crazy. They fully rejuvenated their brand just off of Fortnite. We need to enter the space. And
Yeah.
then we can help, we as an organization can help rebuild the missing esports infrastructure that was once in Fortnite.
Yeah. Mm. Well, I don't have too much to add on to that. Honestly, that was very succinctly well said. Um, so a final kind of two questions that we traditionally ask. I mean, firstly, you kind of talked about this a lot. Like, what's in the future for you? What can we expect to see from you if you want to plug anything? Right now, like what can we expect to see from you or from Dignitas as a whole in the near future?
Mm-hmm. Signings.
Okay.
We're increasing our cast both on the content and competitive side. I mean, we just lost Duke and P God.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna redo our cast and make it so that we're going grassroots with it. You might be
Mm.
like, oh, these guys are not as big of names, but I can tell you in 2 months you're gonna come to love them.
Mm.
For myself, vlogs, I'm
Cool.
gonna get more into like BTS stuff. I've always been, I would say afraid, but like I've never been a fan of being in front of the camera, but I need to
Mm.
stop doing that, because I've learned the only way I can affect change is by having a brand myself. So
Yeah.
that, and then community. That's it.
Yeah.
I all I care about is culture, and everyone jokes about it. Like Jarian jokes about it. I generally don't care about money. I would give away every single dollar I make from this if it meant I could create a fan base that's similar to Carmine Corpse. I would do
Mm.
it in a heartbeat. That's all I care about. So
Mm.
yeah, I promise you, like you're gonna see our entire thing right now is the season's kind of been a dead season. It's been a lull for everyone.
Yeah.
Ramp up for the summer. We're gonna see another huge viewership spike in the summer. Let's prepare
Yeah.
for it.
Cool. And then the final traditional question: if you had to give the audience just one piece of advice, it could be Fortnite related, it could be management related, it could be relationship. I don't, whatever. Um, what would it be?
Don't look at what other people are doing.
Mm.
Like people always say, "Oh, look what this guy's doing." No, you got to pave your own lane. Like no one's doing it right.
Mm.
I'm not doing it fucking right. No one's
Mm.
doing it right. You got to look inside yourself and say, "Hey, what do I want to do? What
Mm.
goals like am I trying to fill? What niche am I
Yeah.
trying to be in?" And the people say it's crazy until you do it. That's the beauty of the space. Like
Yeah.
anything really is possible.
Yeah.
Anything is.
Yeah.
So as long as you're not, you see someone else, don't become just a clone of someone else, because you're gonna
Yep.
burn out.
Yep.
You're gonna burn out.
Yep.
Be the best version of you can be, as cliche as it sounds, and
Yeah.
gently ask yourself what you want to do.
Yeah.
Put your mind behind it, and then you take aspects of what people do.
Yes.
Oh, this
Absolutely.
is okay. Let me put my own spin on this, but like, oh,
Yeah.
this is how we blew up. Let me put my own spin on this, make it more
Yeah.
individualized. That's
Yeah.
how you. That's how you really be able
I
to blow up.
I would echo that 100%. Emulation is not the same as inspiration. And that's a big thing. And like esports is so beautiful, like you said, like you touched on, like it's an industry where damn near everyone is self-made because there isn't a college track, there's not legacy, like that, like the industry is so young, it's so new, it's still forming, nothing is really set in stone, there's no industry standard that's been around for 50 years because it hasn't been around for even 15 years for the most part. It's like it's so fresh and you can really do anything. And I like what I would encourage, kind of piggybacking off of what you said, is like if you think that you want to work in this stuff, or if you have a general passion for esports, competing, content, whatever it is that fits into the esports umbrella, just start doing shit. Just start going out. Like if you think, oh, I'm interested in this, go try it, go do it, see if you find that passion. I think so many people find themselves surprised, and like almost every single person I've had in this podcast that is not a player started as one and then transitioned to something, found a passion that was alternative to what they thought they wanted to do. They wanted to be a Fortnite pro, and now they're a manager, or now they're a content creator, or whatever it is. Just start doing shit. Be self-taught. Be teachable, give your all in whatever that thing is until you decide, okay, this isn't for me. And if you do find something that's for you, like you said, just hit it with everything you have. Be the most unique and the best you that you can be of that thing. And then just a final little bit to throw on there is like find like-minded people, network in that. People who are pursuing that same thing, who are pursuing something bigger than themselves, who are pursuing something for passion's sake, will be your best friend in this industry. And with that, make sure you check out all the 50 stuff below. I'll leave his stuff in the description, all of his socials. Go check out Dignitas. Obviously, if you haven't heard of them, I don't know what you're doing listening to this podcast. But everything that that they're going to be doing in the near future. And we will catch you all in the next episode. Peace.